Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar entitled Manufacturing with QuickBooks. This should be of interest to anyone who's currently using QuickBooks in a manufacturing environment, as well as those of you who are not using QuickBooks, but you're looking for a simple, affordable, and integrated manufacturing system. Some of the topics that we're going to be looking at today is what makes manufacturing fundamentally different. If you use an accounting package like QuickBooks to manage a manufacturing activity, then you'll probably find that it doesn't address everything you want it to. So we'll be looking at how well does QuickBooks support manufacturing. And also, what are the options for manufacturing add-ons to QuickBooks? There are systems that you can get that interface with QuickBooks that you might be interested in. But in addition to add-ons, there are also some affordable standalone ERP solutions that are designed for small to medium-sized businesses that can either interface with or supplant QuickBooks altogether. And we'll be taking a look at some of those. I'll also give a quick overview of one very effective and affordable manufacturing solution called MRPeasy that's compatible with QuickBooks, but it's also a standalone ERP that I've used many times with my clients, so I'll give you a brief glimpse at that. I'll also give you an opportunity at the end of the webinar to submit any questions you might like me to address. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name's David Altamira. I'm president of Altamira Consulting. We're a small group of consultants that we focus on manufacturing and distribution businesses exclusively. We provide support in the areas of lean manufacturing, supply chain, IT systems engineering, also merger and acquisition. We have particular experience in aerospace and medical device manufacturing, but we've also worked with other kinds of companies like food manufacturing, modular housing, consumer goods, and a variety of other manufacturing businesses. Some of the things that we do for our clients include ERP selection, implementation, as well as the optimization of existing systems. We're system agnostic, which means that we're able to work with a wide variety of systems ranging anywhere from QuickBooks to SAP. I'm also the author of a book called Lean MRP, and that's intended more for job shop oriented manufacturers that have complex bills of material and want to employ their production scheduling and control in a way that is lean. So let's go ahead and dive into the topic of QuickBooks and manufacturing. First of all, what is it about manufacturing that's different? The answer is that there are two concepts that make manufacturing fundamentally different than, say, a retail or a distribution business. In manufacturing, the consumption and the transformation of materials from one form to another are the distinct characteristics. So if you look at the graphic example here, you have two materials. You have bread and you have ham. And those two materials are being combined in the manufacturing process through the injection of labor to produce something that's completely different. In this case, a ham sandwich. So you see that the part numbers are different for all of these three materials. The quantities, the unit of measure may also be completely different. So the consumption of raw materials that are then transformed into something else is a fundamentally different situation than retail, where you're simply buying an item and then turning it around and selling it to a customer. So when you buy an accounting package like QuickBooks, you have to understand that it was designed more for retail and service type businesses that don't involve consumption and transformation of materials. It's the consumption and transformation of materials that has fundamental implications for inventory control. So if you're using QuickBooks currently in a manufacturing environment, you may find that it's a challenge to keep track of raw materials and finished good inventories, and you have an even lesser chance of tracking work in process. So everything that's in this red box is what a manufacturing ERP system would represent using manufacturing orders or production orders or work orders, whatever you call it. And those are the vehicles against which labor, material, and overhead are absorbed. And it's the key thing in the system that allows the transformation to take place so that your raw material inventory is decremented by the bread and ham every time you make a sandwich. And then upon the completion of a manufacturing order, the completed product is deposited in your finished goods inventory. So it's the manufacturing order that allows material and labor accounting to be kept straight. And it's the secret sauce that makes the system work in the context of manufacturing. And manufacturing orders do not exist in QuickBooks. So that's one of the crucial limitations of using an accounting package. So you've seen that the lack of an integrated manufacturing order has significant implications for inventory control, not just in terms of inventory quantities, but also in terms of dollars, so that you're able to accurately value your inventory on the balance sheet. Manufacturing-oriented ERP systems also allow you to know purchase requirements in a timely way. So as you're consuming raw materials, your system can then speak back to you and give you a signal saying, hey, we need more bread, we need more ham, we need more steel, so that you want a system, if you're a manufacturer, that tells you when to buy stuff and how much to buy. QuickBooks by itself doesn't do that. The broadcasting of purchasing signals is instead something that's typically done with MRP, that's material resource planning, in the context of a larger ERP system. Labor cost accounting is also something that's not fully supported by QuickBooks in terms of dollars as well as hours. But systems that are geared towards manufacturing will take that into account. And that has implications for your product costing, as well as providing the capability to view all your manufacturing orders and know what their status is on the shop floor. So I think by now you're beginning to see that QuickBooks, which is really a wonderfully affordable and easy to use accounting package, is not really a manufacturing system, and it can be severely limited in some environments. Now, some of you may have read articles or seen references that suggest that there are some features in QuickBooks that can be applied to manufacturing, and that is true, but it's important to understand the limitation. The feature in QuickBooks that's most applicable to manufacturing is called an inventory assembly. But these inventory assemblies are only available in QuickBooks Desktop. So if you have QuickBooks Online, you don't have inventory assemblies. But if you have QuickBooks Desktop, you'll be able to use assemblies as a way of defining a bill of materials. So what I'm showing you here, going back to the sandwich example, is a bill of materials that shows a ham sandwich, and it's comprised of bread, ham, but there's also a direct labor component that went into making that sandwich, as well as overhead costs. Assemblies can be used to account for all of these different cost elements so that you have a fully costed product. In this case, one that costs $3.14 to make. Now we have to ask ourselves, is that sufficient? And I would say in a lot of cases it isn't. So let me explain why I say that. First of all, there's the requirement of inventory control and accuracy. So if you're using assemblies in QuickBooks Desktop, the reliability of tracking your cost and inventory that way using assemblies would be okay, provided that the nature of your operation is very repeatable. And that would be the case if you knew precisely how much labor and material is going into each individual product every time, because it's such a repeatable cookie cutter process. But if you're in a business like, for example, contract manufacturing, where every customer and every order is different, then it's not perfectly repeatable, and you'd be missing the ability to measure the variation in the production process with QuickBooks. Inventory valuation. It's really the same story there as well. The value of finished goods would enter inventory at a preset standard cost that may or may not reflect reality. Knowing your purchase requirements in a timely way. There are no purchasing signals in QuickBooks that tell you when to buy something. So there's no notion of MRP style material planning, and you just don't get those kinds of automated signals. Labor cost accounting. Just as we discussed with regard to materials, if there's any variability in labor rates or labor hours, then you could have a problem using a standard costing system. You really need actual costs so that you can accurately assess the cost of each job. So these issues all affect the ability to cost your products, and it really just boils down to whether you want to know actual costs or maybe standard costing is sufficient. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly for many of you, because there's no concept of manufacturing orders in QuickBooks, you don't really have anything to schedule, and you can't easily track the status of your jobs. You can't measure performance. So that could be a significant limitation. So if you need to know the actual costs of fulfilling an order for a certain customer, or you want to know the status of work on the shop floor, then QuickBooks is probably not going to be sufficient. So what can you do? There are a few basic approaches you can take. You can augment QuickBooks with an add-on manufacturing package, and you can do that in two ways. The first approach is to tie the add-on system to QuickBooks with a hard interface so that transactions executed in the add-on system are automatically passed to QuickBooks. The second approach is for the interface to be more of a soft interface, where you instead rely on reports from the add-on system to manually transfer journal entries into QuickBooks, perhaps as part of a month-end accounting process. The third option, of course, is to forgo QuickBooks altogether and just use a completely integrated ERP system. So here are four full-featured manufacturing-oriented systems that have a hard interface with QuickBooks. And there are many other systems that also interface with QuickBooks. These are the ones that I picked out because I regard them as fully featured and comprehensive manufacturing solutions. There's probably more, but these are the ones that are at the top of my mind. The ones that I did not include tend to be inventory systems, very oriented around inventory, or purchasing systems, and they miss certain shop floor oriented manufacturing functionality. So these are the four that I think are at the top of the heap. And there's probably others, but these are four options. MRPeasy is one of them. That's the one I'm going to show you here in a moment, and it's one that I'm very familiar with. It's actually my favorite one for small businesses because it's so affordable. It has a really good shop floor interface. It's super user-friendly and has a wide range of MRP ERP features. So it's really pretty impressive for a small package. It's also a standalone system. So if you don't want to use it with QuickBooks, and maybe you want to move away from QuickBooks eventually in the future, MRPeasy allows you to do that because it has its own financial accounting package built in that allows you to use it as a standalone ERP. So it's a good stepping stone. E2, Manudyne, and MySys also have interfaces with QuickBooks, and they have a lot of the same bells and whistles in terms of inventory control, purchasing, and manufacturing shop floor control. In addition to these four options, there's also a very large number of lower tier ERP systems that are aimed at small to medium-sized businesses. I've seen folks use QuickBooks for up to $30 million of revenue with no problem, and smaller companies that use something like, for example, NetSuite from Oracle. And it just depends on the nature of your business and what you really need. There are a lot of lower tier ERP options to navigate with varying levels of functionality and usability. So these are some of the options to consider if you want to move in the direction of a more formal, structured, and effective manufacturing system. So now I'm going to give you a very brief tour of MRPeasy. As I said, it's my favorite manufacturing ERP package for small businesses. It's cloud-based. It's compatible with QuickBooks. It has interfaces for e-commerce shopping carts. It's very easy to use, very intuitive, has a lot of features that the company is always expanding. It starts out at $49 per user per month for the first 10 users. Then, if you have more than 10 users, for an additional $49 per month, you can buy a block of 10 additional users. So it gets really quite affordable, and it's very easy to scale affordably. We're a certified MRPeasy partner, and so you can follow the affiliates link that I have shown here at the bottom of the screen to start a free 30-day trial. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the link will also appear directly below the video in the comments section. So MRPeasy can function in all the different ways that I outlined earlier. It has an interface with QuickBooks Online. Now that's QuickBooks Online, not desktop. So all your transactions will eventually, all your transactions will automatically push themselves into QuickBooks Online every night if that's the way you want to run it. It also has its own financial accounting package if you want to move away from QuickBooks, and you can use it as a stepping stone if you want to kind of prepare yourself for growth in the future. Just to give you an idea of the range of functionality, this is the main menu in MRPeasy. It's got a dashboard with metrics and notifications that you can customize. It also has a customer relationship management module, CRM. That's where you would do all of your quotes, your customer orders would be here. You would do your shipping out of here. It's all the customer-facing functions, including your sales department using it to keep track of customer prospects and keep track of where those prospects are in the sales pipeline. There's also a My Production Plan button, and this is basically a module where you can see purchasing, manufacturing, and quality inspection tasks that are scheduled on a calendar for each individual user. It's a personalized calendar for each user. And it allows you to look at manufacturing orders on the shop floor using a calendar view. Production planning, however, is where most of the action takes place as far as shop floor manufacturing. It allows you to develop and maintain your bills of material, create manufacturing routings, and then combine the BOMs and routings into manufacturing orders that then you release into the shop floor. It gives you a screen like this that shows you which manufacturing orders are scheduled, which ones are in process, which ones are completed or shipped. There is also information here to give you an idea of what the schedule health of each order is relative to a due date. And it also lets you know if there are any material availability issues that are affecting each order. So this is one of the most important screens in MRPeasy, and you get a lot of information organized and presented in one place in a very concise way. You also have the ability to customize this screen and most other screens in the system so that you can choose which columns you want to view and which ones you want to keep track of. There's also a report available from this menu that allows you to see actual material, labor, and overhead costs for each manufacturing order. There's a stock menu that gives you your master parts list. It's also where you see your inventory, your shipments. It provides you with your lot tracking and serialization of materials and products as well. Incidentally, if you are in medical device manufacturing or food manufacturing or other businesses that require detailed traceability of materials and products for quality control or regulatory compliance reasons, then the functionality in MRPeasy to do that kind of tracking it's actually quite excellent. And if you look close at your item master list, you'll see that there's a lot of information all in one place. This is where you can see all your assigned part numbers. You can categorize them as raw materials or finished goods, shop supplies, however you want to categorize and organize your parts. You can also check the inventory for each item from this page. So it's not just a master item list, it's also your inventory screen, and it shows what's available, what's been consumed, what's on order, what your standard unit costs are for planning purposes, and so on. And then lastly, there is a procurement module, and that's where you get the MRP style purchasing signals that allow you to know what materials are running low and need to be repurchased. And you get those signals based on customer demand, which is to say from open customer orders, or they can be based on minimum stock levels that you've set in the system. So you can practice both of those approaches to material planning here, and then you would launch the purchase orders accordingly, and then you would receive them into inventory. There's also a facility under this module to do quality inspection of incoming materials, which is to say receiving inspection. And you can maintain your vendors here also. There's a lot of capability here in a small intuitive package. So that's the brief overview of MRPeasy. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have at this time. Just feel free to type in your questions now using the chat box that's provided in the sidebar. And while I'm waiting for questions, I hope I've given you a better understanding of how QuickBooks can be used in a manufacturing context. And I brought to light its inherent limitations and given you some ideas as to what options exist for elevating the level of your material production and cost control by stepping up to a better system. So let's see here. I don't see any questions. I'll just wait just a minute to see if anyone has anything. My contact information is here on the screen, and so you can visit us at altamiraconsulting.com and follow us on LinkedIn. We'll be doing webinars like this in the future. We did one in the past, and we have others in the pipeline. And feel free to contact me directly if you need any help with designing or selecting a system that meets your needs. So I don't see any questions, so I guess I'll see you guys later, and feel free to contact me. Thanks. Bye.